I had heard that after the first season that there had been protests. People had marched up in front of NBC. I wasn't on the show yet, so I didn't know anything about it. But I'd heard that there was a lot of militant and vociferous behavior by fans to protest what they felt was going to be a cancellation. Because we were always on the verge of being canceled because our demographics were not very good. We appealed to an audience that was likely to spend more money than the advertisers on our show, than their products cost. I mean, we didn't have cigarette, as far as I remember, commercials or things that, you could buy for $1 or $2. We had Cadillacs and, stuff that kids 8, 10 to even 30 were not going to have the money to buy. Your college students. When the show went into reruns and began showing 3 and 4 times a day, never mind weekly, we picked up all the college students, and at that juncture it became a fad, and it became something for people to gravitate around. It began to develop a social value that it's not generally there when you're watching television in a room by yourself or with your family. This became a social exchange where people talked about it. All these students in a college would sit in the lobby or the parlor or whatever, and they'd all turn on Star Trek and watch it together. And a camaraderie began to develop. That camaraderie became more extensive and more elaborate when they started having conventions. Now you had not only college students, but people of all walks of life, all strata, coming and sharing something that they might otherwise not come together for. Because it wasn't only computer people and gadget people and technology people. It was people who had a sense of humanity and a sense of justice and and a sort of political bent. People who had imagination and people who loved monsters. It really covered a much larger canvas than perhaps was initially thought. People were calling them the Trekkies, and now they're the nerds. But I've been around long enough, and I've been to enough conventions to know that you can engage in conversation with people of many stripes, of many walks of life, and from sports to everything else, and you scratch one of these guys, and there's a Star Trek aficionado there. So it developed this kind of social presence that tied people together, and it became a very cohesive thing, and an adhesive thing, and became something that kind of solidified, became a strong bond. And to this day, I think we've actually gravitated to the point where Star Trek is a franchise like the Los Angeles Dodgers or the Detroit Bengals football team or hockey team, because we've had 5 different television series on the air. And that translates into a baseball team who every couple of years or 3 years, they trade away a player retires, they acquire new players. The team slowly changes its physical complexion. People are different, but you still root for the team. The guys that were there 8 years ago are no longer there. But the new guys have taken their place, and now they're the ones you root for. So Star Trek, the original series, goes off the air, Next Generation comes on. Next Generation goes off the air, Deep Space Nine goes on. And it's people. It's the same. A lot of them are the same people who were with us at the beginning, but now Star Trek means something else. We are now identifying with other characters, the way sports fans do, and they're rooting for other characters. And in that case, I mean, we have uniforms, we have much of the accoutrement that that sports figures have, and following. So, I think that's an important essence of how Star Trek has evolved.